This video is to give you a review of the 10x Growth Con. This is day number 2, so I'm going to do a review of day number 1 and day number 2 kind of squished in together. So here's the lanyard you get when you come in here. You have to register. You could have pre-ordered if you wanted to online. I didn't do it. I didn't think it was worth it. Just came a day earlier to Vegas and got my badge, got everything. When you come to the conference, you get an assigned seat, and everything is through your assigned seat, and this little plate you can scan in and scan out of the event, and you have a reserved seat, so it's really, really good. You get a little bag that, has all his motivational stuff, no negativity, success is my duty, sell or be sold, who's got my money, obsessed, Young Hustlers, one of his programs, of course, the 10Xers, 10X family, and of course his millionaire booklet. And then two other little good things that you get, which I think are amazing, are the 10X notebook. It does have 10X sketched in there. And it's been wonderful because I've taken so many notes of all the speakers. And, they're not like super detailed notes, but they are really just general notes that I can remember of, oh yeah, this is what he said, like big idea notes. And then you get a cool 10X pen. Really great quality pen, I will have to say. Oh, and then you get a bracelet, kind of like this one, but it says, don't be a little bitch, 10X. All right, so I will go from the beginning. So day number 1 was all about expansion and about thinking bigger, about realizing that every single decision you make is either about expanding your life or contracting your life. So that's what was the main theme. And the category, like the major over umbrella name of yesterday, day number 1 was billion dollar sales day. So we had, let's see, first of all, Grant came out and he said, everything you do, you have to know how to monetize, because sales is an expansion activity. So if you want to do anything, you have to learn how to sell, because that is a way to expand your life and expand other people. And it's true because, okay, so Grant Cardone made an idea to have this conference. He gathered a bunch of other people, and guess what? A lot of different speakers, and then guess what? He had to sell us, people that came to his event, on why we needed to come. That's an expansion activity. He had to sell us on why we had to come. And, we didn't only help his industry because of his idea of expansion. He helped the food industry, the transportation industry, the freaking clothing industry. So you see what I'm saying? His idea is expanding the whole economy in so many ways. So the point is, everything Grant said, it comes out to this. You need to expand. And 2, the next thing is you really need to collapse time and distance. If you want something, why do you have to do all these steps to close a sale? Why can't you just go, hey, here's what I'm selling, close the sale? That's a better approach, close the sale quickly. There's no point in, getting to know a customer so much and spending so much time with somebody. Look, tell them what you're selling, sell it, get it done. And 2, selling doesn't always have to be about gaining money from other people. It simply is about getting what you want out of life. You have to sell other people why you are the reason, their business is going to expand, or hey, why you're the reason their life is going to be better, or you have to sell your spouse on why they should marry you. So you're always doing sales. I mean, this is an everyday activity. So Grant Cardone's message at the beginning was, hey, sales is an expansion activity. So your major question that you should always ask yourself is anything I'm doing now, is that going to expand my life and the life of others, or is that going to contract life? Number 1 question, which is amazing because it really does bite into the whole biological organism, how organisms start one cell and then they have to multiply. You see what I'm saying? They have to multiply. Cells have to multiply to be bigger organisms. So it really just bites so much into that. So I think that was amazing what he said there. he said, you have to do more, and you can do more, and you have to do more. Once you know that you need to do this, you need to do this. If you don't, you're being selfish. Because it said, some people think, oh, well, why do you want to be so rich? It doesn't have to be about you. What if you could be so rich that you could give money to your church? You could give money to the organizations that you want to see grow and flourish. Wouldn't that be a great way to use your money and help society? All right, so the first speaker was Jordan Zimmerman. He owns an advertising agency, which I think is a little more than that. $4 billion company. His whole thing is dream much bigger. You need to treat work like a sport. You need to unprogram yourself. And he said literally innovation is differentiation, and never let your parents tell you what you can do, because your parents are only going to see, they're going to want you to be like a little better than them, but they don't know what's possible because they're not there. They can't, if your parents don't know how to be a millionaire, you can't ask them for those questions. You have to look for other mentors. And you got to make name out of yourself. And everything you do is for your brand, because you are your own brand. The next speaker was Gary Cardone, which is Grant Cardone's twin brother. He was a little messy in his speech, but I think overall, his message was this. There's no one approach to success, which is true, because I think a lot of the speakers that went up, I don't think that were the most eloquent, nor the best at anything, but they just had an idea, they went to market, and they freaking did it. There was no procrastination in between. They had an idea, and they did it. So Gary Cardone's thing is, he has this company called 911 Chargeback, and what he does is he helps billion-dollar companies make sure that, if like a credit card transaction doesn't go through, that they don't get charged for it. So his whole thing is, he sees a lot of the e-commerce industry, and he works with people from all over the world. His message was that, and by 2020, 8 billion people are going to be connected. So there's no excuse to not be a millionaire, especially through the e-commerce market. And you should be a millionaire, because we're going to have so much connectivity with everybody that you need to be a millionaire. So that was it. And he said, only study great people that have compressed success together. And you need to burn the bridges if you want to succeed. Another thing I really liked about him, he talked about how the arts, music, art, anything that was about the arts it's the same thing as business. And he said, you need to know everything about the arts. You need to express yourself in a million different ways. He said, when I feel stressed, I'm feeling stressed, or I need to generate new ideas, I put on my headphones and I listen to Led Zeppelin. I'm like, yeah, of course. That's exactly what we all do. He said, you need to look at everything to multiple perspectives. So I thought that was awesome. So that was Gary Cardone's thing. Next speaker was Ed Mylett, which he's super cool guy. Just met him a couple minutes ago at the 10X party that they had tonight at Light Club at Mandalay Bay, which was $80, by the way. Totally worth it. Met Grant Cardone, Ed Mylett, Grant Cardone, Ryan Secco, the pilot of Grant. Who else? Sherry, the CFO of Grant Cardone Enterprise, was there. Who else was there? Ed Mylett, Jared Glant, and a couple people were there, but there's just so many people I left. But hey, I got a picture with Grant, so that's awesome. So Ed Mylett's whole deal was, hey, you gotta max out. You gotta max out, because he always talked. If you listen to his podcast, he always talks about how, before he used to always like leave a little bit of just like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I'll just like, I have this little bit of like, whatever, this energy left over that I can put towards something else. But he said, once he said he went all in into things, that's when he started succeeding even more. Literally 10xing what he was doing. And yeah, his whole thing is, yeah, does what I do put me closer to the best version of myself? Goes back to what Grant Cardone was saying. Is what I'm doing expanding me or contracting me? So he says the key to be what you want the key to be what you want is to be that person for people. So basically, if you want to be one of those great people, you need to do it, and you need to do it too for other people, because everybody needs a mentor. All right, and then he says, oh man, he had this really funny story. Like, he kind of faked it until he made it. He bought an old Chevy, or what was it, or Chrysler Cavalier. I don't even know what that was, but it's an old car, and he pieced it together to look like a Mercedes. So people thought he was like really famous, but he wasn't. Or I mean, not famous, but like really powerful and had a lot of money. But what ended up happening was that one thing led to another, and he was leading a company of 80 plus people. And what happened was that they got pulled over because he was in the car with a African American guy, and the car was Velcro together, so it started falling apart. So he was so ashamed to show other people that he was kind of faking it till he made it, because he was telling other people, hey, like, I'm this huge, like, hot shot, and he didn't even have a real Mercedes. So he's saying, hey, sometimes you gotta fake it until you make it. And he said, hey, we've all been there. We've all had to do these things. And he said, you're gonna have to go through those things in order to make it. But he said, that's one of the reasons you're gonna make it. You gotta believe in that dream, and sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it. But he also has this really great line. He says, hey, I'm always in a crisis to be the best me. Always in a crisis to be the best me, because when I die, I know God or this universe has this version of me up there, like this perfect form. It kind of reminds me of like Plato's perfect forms of like what is supposed to be like a real chair and like all that. It reminded me of like the perfect forms, like Plato's perfect form. So yeah, Ed Mylett talked about how there's like this perfect Ed out there, and when he dies, he wants to know that he was so close to that perfect person that he was meant to be. He doesn't want to show up in heaven or wherever and not know the person he was supposed to be. I was like, whoa, that's a way to look at it. Basically, you need to max out. You need to 10x everything you do to realize that there's so much more you can do. So that was his deal. Next speaker was Forbes Riley. Huge fan of Forbes Riley. She's been an infomercial queen, and she sold over $2 billion worth of infomercials. I like her a lot. I like her podcast, but I don't think she did so well with her 10x speech. I think everything was too much sales pitch. She didn't add too much value, which I don't know. I just didn't appreciate it. But her major thing is, hey, you don't need to ask permission for anything. You just need to do it. And you need to know what you want. Because it's true, most of us sometimes can't verbalize exactly what we want. And if we don't know what we want, how do we know what target we're going to hit? You need to have the end. You need to do anything with the end in mind, and then engineer it backwards. And she said, yeah, the perfect pitch could change your life. If you know what you want, and you happen to be at the right time, at the right place, in front of the right person, that could change your life. If you knew what you wanted, and somebody could give it to you, and you could have an idea that they maybe were interested in, that could change your life. But Forbes Riley said, most people don't know what they want, and that's why they don't have it. So that was her major thing. She said, yeah, don't play small. You need to freaking win. And she also said, the more you give away and help others, the more you can have that. So I thought, yeah, that's something I do, and that's something I really, really, really live by as well. The next thing, the two best speakers, number one, of course, Grant Cardone blew it. He's awesome. Great as just, of course, worship him a little bit. Can do no wrong by us, okay? So, of course, Grant, amazing. And so I would have to say, Grant, great. Ed, great speech. Naveen Jain was there. Incredible guy. I mean, moonshot kind of person. He's the creator of Moon Express. He can go to the moon, and he wants to mine resources to the moon so we can basically use the moon as a place to be able to figure out how to go to other planets and, excuse me, have life in other planets. And two, he has another company called Viome, V like V, a Viome, and it's about how he wants to solve illness forever. That's a huge idea. Like, whoa, this guy's talking billions of people. He wants to solve the illness problem. He said that illness should be an option and should not be something that happens to everybody. He said, yeah, illness starts in the gut. I'm like, whoa, yeah, that's true. Because he said, yeah, your brain is actually your gut. And that made so much sense. I remember being in biology with Dr. Niles at Sparrow Methodist College and learning about how, small organisms, especially like worms and, just smaller organisms, their gut is their brain. So I was like, whoa, that makes so much sense. How Naveen Jain saying your health and your entire everything you do is actually in your brain. And all those microorganisms are the reason you are able to do so much and process so much. So I'm like, well, that's amazing. So anyway, so his big deal thing is that entrepreneurs are the next superpowers because entrepreneurs are the people that are going to change the world. His two moonshots, Moon Express, let billions of new humans live in different planets by using the moon for like a station to help build colonies in other planets and solve illness forever. He said illness should be a choice, not a status quo. All right, so let's see. Oh, and he said, yeah, the people that helped you don't need your help. They need you to actually help other people and pay it forward. It's something that you can never pay back when somebody helps you. So the only way to pay it back is by giving it forward to strangers, to people that you'll probably never meet. So he said, yeah, you need to think big in crazy ways. So when people look at you, they'll think, oh man, you're freaking nuts. He said, if someone says, yeah, man, you're freaking nuts, that's good. You're in the right path. Yeah, and he said, when you start something, don't think of every single problem that's going to go your way. He said, look, if you want to do something, freaking do it. Whenever you get to a problem, deal with it then. Don't engineer your problems, if you want to start a business of, like, selling mattresses, just freaking do it. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of mistakes in between that, but just work on your feet. You need to do those things like when they occur, not at the beginning. Just do something and then things will go along and you'll figure it out. Yeah, and he said the best way to help people do something is to inspire them and lead by example. So that was awesome. He said, and then, yeah, his whole biome thing was that there's billions of organisms in you that are balancing you, and we have to be able to control them because if you think about it, 99% of all your DNA, not even your DNA, your gut, the bacteria that live in your gut, they're always replicating. So you're technically 1% human and 99% bacteria. I'm like, whoa, that's true. And his other thing was, hey, entrepreneurs, we don't fail. We just pivot. If something isn't working, we just pivot. And another thing he said, we need to start thinking about how if we want something, maybe we can synthetically create it through synthetic biology. The example he gave is, look, the meat industry is the reason why land resources, water pollution, and other problems. That's the reason why we are, like, our water supply is contaminated and everything. So look, if we actually want to eat meat, why don't we just create body cells of meat and then replicate them instead of having to go through the entire process that has to look. If we're not eating eyeballs, if we're not eating the tongue of the cow, if we're not eating the stomach, and we're not eating all those other parts, why don't we just, through stem cells, why don't we just create pieces of steak? That would be better. She said synthetic biology is going to change the entire game of how we do things, and two, it's probably what's going to save us. So that was his big thing. Next speaker was Brad Lee. His thing is like the real Brad Lee because he tells you like it is. I thought he was kind of sloppy in his speech, but he did have some good things. He actually has this company called Lightspeed VT, so Lightspeed Virtual Technology or Training. I think it's training. What he does is he powers virtual companies that want a platform to teach. Like the whole entire Cardone University is through his platform, and Damon John has his own platform there. Anybody that wants an online university or online program to teach people something, he's the back office of all that. So he said you need to always have hindsight 2020, but going frontwards as opposed to going backwards. He says you need to change your daily actions every day to have new outcomes. He said comfort will kill you. He said you need to always keep it real, and you need to be yourself all the time. And he said you need to have your ethics, and you need to stick with them, because no matter what, your ethics break you in every deal. And he says once you start doing the right thing, success will chase you. Literally will chase you. You don't have to chase it down. And it's when you start helping a lot of people. Let's see. And then his whole thing was like, hey, do more and get better. That's how you scale. And you need to use money as a tool to get what you want. Next speaker was Andy Frizilla. He owns First Form, which is a company that has its value about $2 billion. He sells like vitamins and protein shakes. Not shakes, but like protein powders. His whole thing was, hey, how do you build a culture in the company where your ethics match everything you do and everything your employees do? And he said you have to create almost like a cult-like environment in your company in order for people to breathe and live everything you do. He said everything you do is a tattoo of your brand and who you are and what you do. So you need to lead by example, so then your employees will do the same. So that was his thing. He said, oh, you always need to take initiative to do what you want. All right. Oh, yeah, he said everything you do and say comes from your core values. There's just no exception in that. Oh, and the thing that I thought was probably the best thing he said is you need to have a power list. Put 5 things that you need to get done on a sheet of paper that you need to do today. And things that are really hard, like, oh, I need to email this one person that I've been holding off for months. I need to do it like today. He said you need to have that power list, and these should be habits that you want to have that you're not doing now. And he said that you should do it in like the first 2 hours of your day. Needs to be done. No questions asked. And you need to do it for about 21 days. And when you see that you're actually getting used to it, then you put a W by it saying winning, like you're good, like that's going to become a habit of yours. And that's it. Just create habits, because good habits lead to a good life. And then Grant Cardone came out again, and he said, if you have an idea, you need to automatically take it to market. It doesn't have to be perfect. You need to execute. There's no time in between. He said too much people think they want to perfect something, and they never do it. So have an idea, execute. Have an idea, execute. Cut time out of the equation. And he went to this presentation when he said, hey, if you have an idea, you need to get attention. It's a funnel. And you need to keep getting that. So it's like your marketing. And you need to have an intention. Like, why are you doing this? Like, what is the purpose? And it goes back to the thing he said, is what you're doing expanding society, expanding you, or contracting it? So if you think from that, then that gives your intention. And you need to tell people why your product solves a problem. And you need to have a proposal. And yeah, like how much will it cost? You need to tell people how much will this cost? And you need to close the deal. But he said, Um, you need to just cut all that. Why don't you have to go through all these access? You need to maybe just go to the people that have the money, ask them, hey, this is what I have to offer, and bam, make the sale. Like, don't go through this other bullcrap. Just make the sale. Whoever gets the answers to the questions gets the sale. And he brought up one of his best salesmen called Mike Bonnet. He made over $1 million in commissions. I think in less than a year. I think like 5 months or something. And he said you really have to be frequent before you can be great. You know, this YouTube video is not going to be the best YouTube video I've ever made, but who cares? It's about frequency, because if I do it so much, then I can get better at it. He said, yeah, sometimes you're going to understand that some things are just going to cost you a lot of money, but you need to do it anyway, because that's how you grow, and you need to use money to grow. You need to learn how to master those objections, because sometimes those objections are the objections that you would have when you want to buy something. And he said, yeah, there's no one thing that will cause people not to do business with you is time. So you need to collapse time and space, literally. So if you want something, close time. You need to be in front of that person like tonight. Okay, and then that was the end of number one. And then at the end of yesterday, Florida came out. Excuse me. Sorry, we had some crappier food at this event. I'm not used to eating, so getting a little bit of heartburn here. So that was the end of number one. And then Florida came out and he gave a concert. He was pretty good. Day number two, first speaker was Jared Glant, and he talked a lot about marketing. And the next one was Russell Brunson. He's a huge guy that does this company called ClickFunnels. So how you can build a basic website with a product and then upscale it and upsell people. I think he has a really good pattern that works. And he is worth checking out, and you have a good product. Oh, the next person that talked was Carrie Kaisem. She was the first person to get Grant Cardone on the radio and to get him thinking, hey, you should have a platform bigger than what you're doing. And he said the best thing she says, hey, you need to 10x your life so you can 10x other people's lives. The more resources you have, the more you can help other people. Simple as that. The next speaker was Damon John. He's been on Shark Tank, and he has over 60 Shark Tank companies. He said continuity is important. And he said your due diligence of anything you do starts before you even meet anybody. And the due diligence that people are going to do on you starts before you even do anything, because you are your own brand. So everything you do and say, especially now, everything that's social media, you are your brand. So everything you're posting, everything you're doing is tattooed and engraved in freaking infinity in the universe. Like, that is your brand. And he said, yeah, you always need good mentors. Oh, and he said you need to honor your day. The first thing you should do is email people and do things that you need to do before the day overtakes you and before you're doing other things for other people. He said you need to compound time. He said be productive the first hour of your day to compound time. Because what he means is that eventually those little emails that you send to get new clients and stuff, they're going to add up. You know? And he said it's small adjustments that change your life forever. Which I thought was really, really, really important. Okay, that was good. Oh, and he said you always need financial advisors, and he said you need to learn from people that are successful. Oh, yeah, and then Damon John said how he's more the go-to guy on how to actually do things, because he also has a new platform. I think it's Damon John On Demand. His whole thing is how do I show people what I've learned in the business of being in the fashion industry, which really can apply to a lot of different businesses, and how do I shortcut that in the 30 years that I've learned this? How do I make other people have access to those ideas and those pieces of information, which is simple as, hey, How do I, you know, differentiate the difference between a patent and a trademark? If you have a patent to something, that means you can constantly update it. If you have a trademark to something, you can only update it if you're the trademark. So basically what he said is, um, so like somebody can go and copied an exact shoe that's like Adidas, but they couldn't write Adidas on it. They could copy it, but they couldn't write Adidas on it and mark it as Adidas. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, so that's a trademark. So that was good. The next speaker was Ezra Firestone. His whole thing is about the world of commerce and how he started actually selling really small at flea markets, which I thought was really interesting. Because I love flea markets, and there's one really close by my house, and my parents always sold at flea markets, and I even sold at one of the flea markets in Anderson, South Carolina, in order to, make some income. So his whole deal was, whatever you want, you have to get it from the people that have it. You have to go to them and get it. So he has this product, and he's an advertising kind of genius guy that has also kind of like a ClickFunnels kind of guy, and he has an e-commerce side. And he said that now the market is going to change so much. Right now is about 8% of all transactions, of every money spent ever, transactions are online. He said it's about 8%. And in the next by 2021, so what, 18, 19, 20, 21, so in 3 years, that's going to double because the generation of millennials is growing up. So we trust the internet and we do everything online. So that number of 8% is going to grow to probably more than 20%, really, where all the transactions are going to be online. So he said, if you actually you thought you missed the e-commerce wave, this is just beginning. So you're in a good time to get into it. Yeah, he said, you haven't missed the boat. And he said, you almost have something good to sell, and you have to maintain your visibility constant. And he said, to have consistency and scalability, you need to be able to turn ads to profits. You need to turn everything you do into money. So ads equals money equals more visibility. He said, you always need a story to tell. Tell people what's coming up. Touch them, with a story. Yeah, and he talks about how to do it. And what should be in the videos when you are doing one of like the funnels. You need always a eye-catching opening, kind of like purplemattress.com. Some sort of compelling story, and you always need to have a caption on the onset first screen. And he says the success of your ads hinges on your target. So you should, like, if you're selling Harley Davidson products, you should market to people that maybe are 50-year-old men through 60-year-old men with $70,000 incomes or something, or people that have tattoos of Harleys, or you need to market to a specific person. The more you can market to the right group, the more money you can make. Because he said conversion is communication. Conversion is communication, meaning if I buy from you, I am communicating. I am transacting. That is communicating. It's just a different way to communicate. And my one of the things that I got out of this, because I was a philosophy major in college, was like, hey, philosophy majors, I'm able to identify a problem, so like pinpoint it. And now entrepreneurship, this whole business side of things, is, hey, how do I solve this problem? So that's kind of what I got out of that. And then he also said repetition creates mastery. So if you want to be good at something, you need to do it over and over again. Kind of like Grant says, frequency will create greatness eventually. The next person that spoke was Hank Norman. He has been a person that launches people to have their own brands. He launched Grant Cardone. and he launched Steve Harvey to have bigger brands. He said, you need to stop having so much motivation and have a little more education about things. You need to realize that everything you are facing is actually a very human, regular pain that probably other people are having too. So what you should do is, excuse me, you should record yourself. His thing was like, what was his tag? Press record. His thing is press record, 15 minutes of fame. He said everybody can be famous. Everybody can be famous. There's no excuse to not be famous and not to have a brand. The reason anybody that's famous now is able to have a brand and make money off of it is because they've been honest about their pains, and they're able to connect with another human being, and that's why that human being is able to transact money towards them. And he said you need to access that pain in order to have power. Your pain is the same pain your customers are having, and that's your brand. That's your brand. Your problem, the moment you share it and make it public, it kind of goes away in a way. And you need to always fight that environment. You need to create more networks. You need to do everything too daily. His biggest thing is current constant content. Current constant content, meaning you need to have a video, you need to have some sort of visual or something every day, all day. Every day, all day. Consistency, and every day, all day. Because the more people can see you, the more people have access to you, and the more people that you can, eventually transact with. So, yeah, and he said, yeah, when you help other people, you start to see their flaws, you also start to see your flaws, and you can also correct them. Oh, and the next person that spoke was awesome. This guy got us on our feet, on whatever. We were setting up, we were having a good time, we were even doing aerobics. His name is Roddy Chong, and he toured with Shania Twain and Celine Dion. His whole thing was, hey, you need to be bold and mighty. Forces will come to your aid. Be bold and mighty. Forces will come to your aid. Because the point is, you need to take massive action to do something. He told a story where he ended up being a violinist for Shania Twain, but his whole dream was actually to be a violinist for Celine Dion. So one time he was actually able to go to a concert or to meet her backstage or something, and what happened is he ran into Celine Dion's husband and told him, hey, she said, hey, I'm willing to play for you and do it for free or something. And he said that something in him told him that he followed his gut. He said, you need to do it. He said, there's no time to practice, no style, just execution. It's go time. So whenever you have an idea, again, execute, cut time out of it. It's not going to be perfect. Just freaking do it. That's his whole thing. Because he said life is going to take you to places that you never thought were even possible. And you need to allow that. You need to be open to that. Because as you move through that, that's where the brilliance comes out of you. And that's where your power comes through. The next speaker was Anik Sangai. And he said how to build an online business. I'm going to be honest, I didn't really get what he was talking about. And I left during that time. I went to eat. So that was my bad. I take full responsibility of missing out on this. But I did get some of that. He said there's about 3.2 billion people online. So you have an audience. If you have an idea, you should take it to market. He said things should be so easy to do. The last speaker was Ty Lopez, and Ty gets a very interesting rep for maybe, I don't know. He's a hit or miss for a lot of people, but I thought he was okay overall. But his biggest message is this, which I didn't even really get until I was talking to another 10Xer. Major thing is, business doesn't have to be so freaking complicated like everybody makes it. You don't need to make another iPhone. You don't need to do something like crazy. It could be as simple as have a protein bar review site. You literally just eat protein bars and you monetize on those reviews because you can tell other people, hey, I have this idea and I'll ship this to you or whatever. You know, he said things can be so easy, but people choose to make business hard. So that was his major thing. And two, that in order for you to succeed, you need to show your face more because people are able to relate to you when they can see your face and when they can see your struggles and when they can see your successes. And you are always your own brand, and you should always have mentors around you. He said 30 solid allies in person in order to be able to expand yourself, because you're not always going to be able to think about every single thing that you need to do in order to maybe start something, or you need to have thought partners in order to bounce off ideas from. So that was it. He said, one of the major things you need to think about is how some entrepreneurs took forever to launch and to get things together. But he said there's these small pivots that completely change things. He said, example was Instagram. Instagram used to be a contact book, but he said, who wants freaking contact book? The iPhone and all these other apps already have contact books. We don't need another contact book. So what happened is Instagram added a photo feature, and that became Instagram. So he added the founder of Instagram was a contact book app, and then he added a photo side to the app, and that became Instagram. That immediately cut out Kodak, destroyed $1 billion business by pivoting his own business, by Instagram pivoting its own business. So he said, look, there's so many businesses that are going to pivot and destroy $1 billion industries, and that could be any of you here in the room. So I thought that was good. And he said, your income should not look like this. Your income should look like, sometimes like this, and then he said you really need to 10x your income. If you're making 10 grand now a month, you need to think about how do you make $100,000 a month. If you're making $100,000 a month, you need to think about how to make $1 million a month. If you make $1 million a month, how to make 10 million a month. If you make 10 million a month, how to make $100 million. So he said you always need to be expanding towards that. So that's kind of the notes for tonight. I'm probably about to go to a concert and see Cascade. Actually met another 10xer that he has a bunch of free tickets to go see Cascade the DJ. So, but head out and do that. I just brushed my teeth, so feel good because I hadn't brushed my teeth all day. I was at this conference. We're there from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. It's 9:30 here in Vegas. But yeah, I mean it's been great. It's a good place to grow, and the more I start to see that it's true, success doesn't have an exact like combination, but it does leave clues, and it does have this general thread of, hey, if you can think bigger and if you can help a bunch of other people, success will chase you. So the more I can think of that way, the more inspired I feel. Hey, I'm like, hey, yeah, that's true. And it's one of those things, hey, I can do this. Look, there's people up there on that stage that were not that articulate. I'm going to tell you that right now. We're not that articulate. But they're $1 billion, their companies are worth billions of dollars. So I think maybe that's right. Maybe, you don't need to be the greatest and the best at whatever you do sometimes. Sometimes you just need to have a product and an idea and just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. You got this.